In 1948, a car rolled off an assembly line in Chicago that could have changed automotive safety forever. A year later, its inventor was sitting in a federal courtroom, accused of fraud. This is the story of the Tucker 48, and how a padded dashboard and a headlight that turned with the wheel helped bring down an entire company. Preston Tucker was born in 1903 on a farm outside Detroit and grew up surrounded by the automobile industry at its founding moment. He moved through nearly every corner of it, as a salesman, then as a partner to race car designer Harry Miller, building machines for the Indianapolis 500. During the Second World War, Tucker designed a combat vehicle for the Army so fast the military rejected it, deciding it was too quick to control safely in the field. But one piece of that project survived. A rotating gun turret Tucker had engineered got adopted and modified, and ended up mounted on B-17 and B-29 bombers throughout the war. When the war ended, Tucker saw an opening. Detroit hadn't released a genuinely new car design in years. Its factories had been building tanks and aircraft instead. So in 1946, he founded the Tucker Corporation and set out to build something no one else was building. He brought in designers George Lawson and later Alex Tremulous to shape the car's look, long, low, almost aircraft-like. But the real ambition was underneath the skin. Tucker built the entire car around one idea: safety. A windshield designed to pop free in a crash instead of shattering inward. A padded dashboard, a roll bar built into the roof, and the detail that made headlines: a third headlight mounted in the center of the nose that turned with the front wheels, lighting up a curve before the car ever got there. To raise money and build excitement, Tucker took a rough hand-built prototype on tour before it was even finished. His own employees nicknamed it the Tin Goose. It was patched together from scavenged parts and had to be trucked between cities because it wasn't reliable enough to drive there. When it was unveiled in Chicago in 1947, 15,000 people a day paid to see it. The press called it the car of tomorrow. But building cars takes capital, and Tucker was short. To raise cash fast, his company began pre-selling accessories, radios, seat covers, luggage, for a car that didn't exist yet in mass production. The Securities and Exchange Commission took notice. In May of 1948, federal agents raided the factory. Production, which had barely started, stopped cold. 1,600 workers were let go. The same press that had celebrated Tucker a year earlier turned on him overnight. Tucker didn't stay quiet. He bought full-page newspaper ads, an open letter to the automobile industry, suggesting the big three were working to bring him down before his car could compete. Whether that's true has been argued for 75 years. Despite the raid, a core of loyal employees kept building, some without pay. By the time the factory closed for good on March 3, 1949, they'd finished 36 sedans. That last skeleton crew pushed out 14 more before the end, for 50 production cars, plus the original prototype. 51 Tuckers, total, ever built. In June of 1949, Tucker and 6 executives were indicted. 25 counts of mail fraud, 5 counts of SEC violations, 1 count of conspiracy. The trial started that October and dragged on for months. On January 22, 1950, the verdict came back. Not guilty. On every single count. It didn't matter. The company was already dead. The factory sold for a fraction of its worth, eventually to Chrysler. Tucker spent the rest of his life trying to raise money for a second car and never managed it. He died in 1956, at 53. Of the 51 Tuckers ever built, most survive today, preserved in museums and private collections. When one comes up for auction, which is rare, it commands prices that rival far more famous names. In 1988, Francis Ford Coppola, whose own father had stood in that crowd of 15,000 back in 1947, brought the story to film with Tucker, the man in his dream. Nearly 80 years later, the Tucker 48 is remembered less for what it was, and more for what it might have become. A real glimpse of automotive safety a full generation before Detroit caught up, cut short not by bad engineering, but by a courtroom. Do you think the Tucker 48 would have survived if the SEC investigation had never happened? Or was a company this small always going to lose to Detroit eventually? Let me know what you think in the comments.